I'll be nearly hit on the street so many times by aggressive drivers. Never to actually see or be hit, but unfortunately they did end Mardi Gras for one night. Somebody actually managed to get hit by a 2-mile-per-hour float trying to get beads. It is so sad how stupid the world is. Anyways, these are all real. These are all true stories. Everything I say, I know it sounds like it's so perfect, it's made up, but it's not. Just good editing and story referencing. I have to think like this because I'm an editor, or I used to be a video editor, of positioning a lot of interviews between documentaries to come to points in my head, rationalize free-written articles, which were mostly just like diary entries as to thought, not self-experience per se, but, scattered amongst any good writing. One uses self-experience naturally, so anyways, they know I'm trying to get to an English-speaking democracy, not England, not Ireland, nothing in the UK, because they don't have enough space for me, frankly. Not to mention they got some issues from immigration. So, after I make it very clear to Trump, you guys tried to kill me with a virus, it didn't work, but it did show maybe there might be something you could discover in my blood to handle your pandemic now. I guess the first weekend of Mardi Gras, realizing how bad this was all about to go down. Meeting so many people from all over the world. I wasn't the only one making jokes. Canadians came down here, which is the same population as Wuhan, saying they're from Wuhan, as a joke to a street artist. And everyone was like, whoa! I was like, nah, I'm just from Canada. And anyways, variable enough, necessitative to the interest here. We have a intercorrelating coding system, clearly epidemic, to a never-ending variable unto which prosecution is being delivered to some degree. I try to stay out of the schizoactive signals and codings unto which could have just been directly delivered in well-implemented consideration of threat, like most documentary filmmakers do. We don't create a bunch of retarded events with signals and considerations that only 007 picks up on. We just do it. We see a problem, we get intellectuals to relevate on them, and we put it together as cohesively and rationally as humanly possible. So, your guys' methodology is to create all these... anyways, you have no idea how bad modern media, Hollywood, and your signaling system looks to a bunch of rational intellectuals who really aren't even necessarily that intelligent. They're just intelligent enough to be direct, clear, and cohesive in putting together a reality without a partisan, emotional disdain for the truth, ultimately. And that's why documentary film watchers and thus producers have to discipline oneself philosophically and scientifically as to what being objective truly means in this matter, based upon the cohesive, disproportional and proportional rational interest to acknowledge contextually, perceptually, where we're at in the overall solution and or acknowledgement and or exposure of that which might be sensitive. Anyways, what to say. I need some more coffee. So, I wasn't going to say anything about Tom Hanks and his blood situation. But clearly they would have done something rational before then to implicate how and why somebody who's recovered's blood could theoretically do something more faster than Tom Hanks or Obama's reinterpretation of a statewide health care initiative invented by his adversary and rival who was relegated as racist and pathology of Christian division, which I don't think so. Oh God, I really don't like to have negative thoughts or project negative feelings on other people. I really think everyone's trying to do the right thing, trying to do something good, something inclusive, as bizarrely and or adaptively different as it thus then therefore might be. Ultimately, like when Trump, did that with the whole making me look Mexican, or prejudice towards the Mexican government for not having a handle on their government. I'm putting my foot down again, Tom Hanks. I was angry when you signaled my interest to move to Australia, and now you're adding insult to injury by replicating the variables into which I first started re-humiliating Trump, despite I get that I may have accidentally negotiated a humiliation of California for not rationalizing their imposition to be the biggest homeless population based on your population of people with broken dreams and trying to ascertain a fun career instead of a real career. I don't know. I was just coming there to smoke pot without getting in trouble, so I didn't fuck up my LCSW license in the long term as I reformulated financially how to get back into college. And that's where this all got started. Apparently I had to take a schizophrenic plea in order to get out of it, like I did again coming to South California and doing an interview with a Japanese YouTube film producer, a young woman, pretty sure it's just a college student with a couple thousand fans or less, so it's probably not a problem. But I did sustainably vindicate myself as schizophrenic as I did to get the basic benefits from California, even though we all know that's a load of malarkey. I'm trying to work with you, America. I'd rather live and pretend to be schizophrenic than deal with this. And I know it sounds like I'm schizophrenic from both these recordings, but this is all real stuff. If at any point it sounds delusional, it's delusional because I made a false assumption. And making inappropriate false assumptions is an indication of concern, but not under which the psychologist first identified schizophrenia. In fact, if anything, I identified myself as delusionally paranoid about a possible deliberate unleashing of pandemics, which I personally squashed and then became correct about. So, well, it wasn't deliberate. I'm just saying, I knew something was happening, and in the articles I was searching for, real Chinese citizen perspective on the trade war. I happened to come across a few guys that thought something as concerning as SARS was about to go down again. And I thought about how this could be leveraged, like the Defense Department has been for quite some time, ultimately, in rationalizing bioterrorism, as simple and obvious as this variable is. I know it doesn't take rocket science to have a concern as to how someone could maliciously utilize or let something go in an attempt to retake or claim a position. But anyways, I mean, economically speaking, and philosophically driven variables of defense into which we're humiliated ultimately in the trade war. Ideologically religious to an epic proportion, irrational to an ultimate necessity. China's percentage-wise on top right now from an economic standpoint, and the European Western world markets have totally driven down. Even though you can't conceptualize this to the basic numbers one usually gets in the market, if you grasp the weight and certainty of investors looking at the Chinese debt tenure, it's quite substantially higher on the overall product creation at the moment. Naturally, because they're supposedly out of this thing, which is relative. I don't want to get into so many things the media can manipulate, but ultimately, so the initiation of those emails was based upon an imposition to make me look stupid for talking smack about the Mexican government. In this case, I'm putting my foot down to Tom Hanks for trying to predisposition everyone's knowledge of how and where I plan to get out of this jail cell. And now adding insult to injury with the Hanks scene. It has to do with a multitude of attempted murders. That's wrong. You shouldn't make fun of someone who was nearly killed.